What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2, season 1 of the Star Game Podcast, and we're about to talk some draft status. The draft was upon us and came and went. We're excited. This is your guy, Nix. We got Mary as well as a host.
Hi, guys. Excited to talk to you today. Episode 2, episode 1 in the books. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then we got a guy from New York, Spoon, who was actually at the draft. What's up, Spoon?
Man, what's going on? I'm so excited to talk about this, about the draft, what happened, what I experienced.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'll tell you what, Spoon. Actually, how was the draft up there or over there in Tennessee? I mean, down here for you, up there for us, kind of.
Oh, listen. I tell you this. First of all, I have to give props to the people in Nashville, Tennessee. They actually broke the record for the most attendance at the NFL draft. I mean, folks was out there for all 3 days. You know, sometimes, of course, day 1, everybody is always crowded, it's packed. Day 2, it simmers down. Day 3, some don't show up. All 3 days, they was having a great time. It was awesome. Awesome.
I was going to say from the outside looking in for me, the way they had it like on the strip all the way down, I'm like, yeah, sure. It felt like it would probably be easier for people to be there because all those bars and everything on the strip, I imagine, were open. So no matter where you were lined up, hey, you can shoot it here. Let me get these drinks, come back out. Let me grab some food. If I need to grab a seat, like where they actually situated at looked pretty legit in my book.
Mm-hmm. I know it's nice.
Yeah, I know there were some guys like on NFL Network of the world's Rich Eisen and stuff talking about, and I even saw some other people outside of that saying once they kind of make it all the way through these cities, you know how the Super Bowl kind of gets, hey, we're going here this year. You kind of get some regular rotations. Like definitely Nashville needs to be one of those in regular rotation for the draft.
Yeah, I was jealous. Looked nice. Even in the rain, people were standing out there excited. So
right. And the rain kind of didn't, it could have been a lot worse than what it was. Looks like, there was kind of some rain going to happen that was going to be really heavy, but it kind of held off y'all. Maybe a little sprinkle here and there, huh, Spoon?
Oh, listen, I'm going to tell you this. They were giving everybody some ponchos, right? And the crowd there was just in it. Nobody was leaving. It was so packed that even if you wanted to leave, there was no way you was getting out until the people in the back started leaving, and they wasn't leaving at all. And the great part is they still had, some people still had their costumes on.
Wow.
Raider Nation went crazy. Tampa Bay Nation, Viking Nation. I'm like, damn. Listen, the love and support for their team was awesome. Straight awesome.
What's up. That's what's up. I know for me, I went to the draft last year, and me and Spoon was at the draft last year. Obviously, I guess, Mary, you went as well. We just happened to bump into you.
Yeah.
I think I've said this tremendously, multitude of social media and different things like that. Outside of going and seeing your team at the Super Bowl, this is bar none the best NFL experience is the draft. It is just a ton of fun. If you haven't had a chance to make it to a draft and you're listening, if there's a chance for you to get to one, you should definitely put it on the bucket list for sure.
Hey,
put
and
it on
Vegas
the bucket
is
list.
next year. So.
Oh, yeah, we're all the way in there for sure. We're looking at the B&Bs and stuff of the world for sure. I know I am there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm sure y'all will be too. Yeah, we'll kind of maybe work some things up. Maybe get a little Stargame cash from the draft live next year. But we'll get there. With that being said, there were some picks to be made, Mary. What do we have? How did the Cowboys make out? What did we do with these picks that we had? Run it down for us.
Look, the Cowboys, obviously we didn't have a first round pick because we traded it to Oakland in order to get Amari Cooper. So we had pick 58 was our first pick on the second day. Tristan Hill, defensive tackle out of Central Florida. It's actually a guy that we kind of discussed in our own group chat actually the day of the draft. And it was kind of coming out that that's who they were sold on. And, the guy has a great motor. You see him on tape. He looks good. He's about, 6'3", 308. I know NFL.com had him projected to go second, and that's where we got him. They fell to the Cowboys. I know that from what I've read, just in different articles, different things from the Cowboys. They were choosing between Tristan Hill and Juan Thornhill, which was a safety that we all kind of discussed on the first episode as a possible draft pick. He was one of the 30 visits. I was actually reading an article earlier today with Will McClay where he said it came down to them two, and they leaned towards Tristan Hill because they think securing the front and having a strong front is the most important. And if you have a strong front and if your front is solid, that's going to help your back. And I mean, he's right.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, what we know with Rob Marinelli, that under tackle for him is the number one position period in his defensive scheme. It's interesting because, as we were talking as well as the group chat and everything was going on with the draft, right there before the pick, Chris Richard was in there apparently arguing or not. I don't want to say arguing. That's a bad term. Pleading his case. And I would have loved to be in there and say, well, was it for Tristan or was it for Juan? But he was definitely pleading his case and whatnot. But they went with Rod, the senior of the defensive staff, obviously with this number one thought process. And hey, we discussed this on the first podcast, guys. We're like, hey, defensive tackles for sure in need. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I mean, they called my bluff because I talked about how they haven't done it in the first two rounds since 1991, and maybe they were listening.
Facts.
So moving on, we had round 3, pick 90. We got Connor McGovern, guard from Penn State. I think this was actually a surprise for most of us. But hey, O-line, in my opinion, you can never go wrong adding some depth there. Especially next year, we might be losing some guys, so I'm happy with that pick. Round 4, we had 2 round 4 picks. Our first one, 128, went to Tony Pollard, running back from Memphis. I know Spoon, he brought him up in the first episode, and we weren't sure. We kind of had some thoughts on other RBs, but he's looking good, so we'll see how he goes.
And then the trade down game happened for us. We went to trading down back to back.
Yes. And we talked about the possibility of trading too. And
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
So they traded pick 136 to Cincinnati. That was our comp pick. Then they traded the 5th round pick 149 to Oakland. And we got that from Cincinnati in our initial trade. So the next pick we had was round 5, 158, Michael Jackson, CB from Miami. 6'4", so we love those tall corners with Chris Richard now. And it'll be interesting to see, how much he does in camp and if he's gonna actually get some playing time on the field this year. Right back to back, pick 165 in round 5. Joe Jackson, DE from Miami. So we got the Jackson family combination.
we needed Joe for discipline, guys.
And we need that turnover chain. We got to bring it to Dallas.
Man, I told you. Yeah, I hit y'all. I was like, hey, we got back-to-back you guys. Man, let's go ahead and start it. Let's get a turnover chain with hot boys on it. I mean, let's bring that to Dallas. Something exciting. Look, I'm with y'all, right? Here's the thing. We've been talking about, before the podcast, now that we're here, we can kind of show some of the things that we have always talked about. Like, we got to get these turnovers up.
Yes.
I'm here to do it by any means necessary. If a turnover chain is going to do it for us, hey, let's get a turnover chain and let's go. And let's put hot boys on and do what we got to do, and let's slap it on people and get excited about it. If they want to bring that up here, I'm ready for it.
I would definitely buy me a chain too. I would get me a chain. That was a great idea too, BJ. I want everybody to know BJ made that up. Hot boys, turn over the chain.
Let's make it happen. Hey, I add D-Law. I put it on Twitter. I put it in all the social media little spots and everything. Hey, we need to get that going, man. Hey, straight up. We need a turnover chain. Let's make it happen. Get the young. It is something that the young guys are going to love, and it'll be something that some of the veterans will be and be a part of.
Fired up, man. That never hurts.
Yeah, for sure. Turnover chain and hey, and look, we drafted a bunch of Miami guys in the early 90s when we was like winning Super Bowls. Let's
right?
make, yeah, whether it was Michael Irvin or if it was Russell Maryland, the Williams at linebacker, man, hey, let's get it rolling again. But go ahead. Where else should we go after we made our run on the U?
So we had round 6, which we didn't have before. We did not have a 6th-round pick before.
Right.
But we picked 213, and we had to wait till round 6 to get our safety, Donovan Wilson, Texas A&M. 6 foot guy, 6 foot, I think, 199.
And wants to hit you.
Yes.
Hard.
Yes. Which, hey, that never hurts in football.
At all.
I don't know about you guys, but
right. As long as you don't have them JJ Wilcox angles, we're good.
Ooh. The ghost of JJ. Let's figure out where he's at.
Right.
And then we had 2 7th-rounders, which we added one from Oakland. Pick 218, Mike Weber, running back, Ohio State. Another running back.
Yeah, possibly the steal of our draft, by the way. Possibly. And we'll kind of touch on that here in a second. And who was our second round 7?
241, Jalen Jelks, DE Oregon.
Okay. All right. So
we ended up with more than we expected, actually.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they traded down, we talked about the trade down stuff or just trading in general. We kind of want to see an up and maybe 2 second rounders, but they kind of traded down, got us 6, got us some extra picks. Like Mary said, obviously the round 3 with Connor McGovern, it's like, oh, we went there with it. But I think, and we'll kind of touch on this here in a second, a little bit of a draft for this year, a little bit of draft for next year's as well. Also, Michael Jackson at the 5th round could possibly be that hybrid, little safety, little corner as well for us. Donovan Wilson for sure is the unequivocal box safety, strong safety that people wanted to see as kid. What'd you think? What'd you think, Spoon? I mean, I got a nice little story about Tristan Hill, by the way. But what'd you think overall?
I loved it. Okay. I trust in Willie McClay. Don't get me wrong. After the Tristan Hill pick, which was expected, I look for that safety. But that it's like Mary said, that guard surprised all of us. But they had a 2nd round grade on that guard, and the guards play, 20. He played, I believe it was 21 snaps between center and guard and tackle, and that's incredible. That's incredible depth. Folks got to realize that we had a major injury with Frederick last year, even though Looney stepped in. But listen, that offensive line is so important to what we want to do as a team. So, Michael Jackson, listen, there was former players saying that he was the ball hawk out of the whole secondary class. I'm like, wow, for us to get a guy, and I love his swagger. That's another thing. I love that attitude, that swagger. That's exactly what the secondary needs for Chris Richard's defense. And also, hey, listen, Byron Jones is a free agent, so we don't go in scared. If we don't sign him, we got some depth at that corner spot. Donovan Wilson, I like the pick. I love what Jerry Jones says. Listen, he'll bite as a puppy and he'll bite as a dog. They did their homework on these guys, and I love that pick as well. We got a Joe Jackson now. There was a funny Twitter comment that Joe Jackson would discipline Michael Jackson if he doesn't perform on the field. And I was like, I said, what's going on over here? And I looked at the Miami Hurricanes depth. I said, wait a minute, there's also a Tito who's about to get drafted. I said, yeah. Funny. Imagine the Cowboys draft a Tito. That's funny. But listen, overall, I love the draft. It was great depth, and it also prepared the Cowboys for decisions next offseason when guys are free to go.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I caught about Tristan Hill, and here's probably what tipped the scales as to exactly why the Cowboys went with Tristan Hill over anybody else, was this. this in what we kind of know, and I'm not going to get into the Garrett Rock kind of guys things, but when we talk about the Willie McClays of the world, the Rob Marinelli, stuff like that, they love guys that love football. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Tristan Hill spent his 21st birthday with Rob Marinelli in a hotel room talking football.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
So awesome. I mean, so you're getting a guy that loves football because the reports came out, of they made sure that he signed a little
work ethic
contract. Hold on, Cowboys Nation, Star Gang affiliate, Storytime with Knicks, real quick again. Rod Marinelli does this with every single defensive free agent and every single defensive draft pick. The only reason that they decided to bring this up because we took Hill is because a lot of these scouts and these mock draft people and the Todd McShays of the world and everything, their report was, well, he has a work ethic problem and he might not love, so that was their take. So they were able to take like that little storyline and run with it. But again, you took a kid that's just turned 21. I don't know about y'all, anyone that's listening or Mary, you at 21, the last place I'd probably want to be was in a room with Rod Marinelli talking football when I turned 21.
Hey, look, to be honest, I couldn't tell you what I did on my 21st birthday, but y'all know that I love vodka, so.
Oh, yeah. And you are, hold on. And you are Exum Jacks? Is that, SFA?
Oh, no. U of H, Houston.
U of H. Oh, H. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Third ward in the house.
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah. Could only imagine, ma'am.
Yeah. Go Cougs, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Yeah. Go Cougs. Hey, you know what? We might dial up the numbers. The Cougs might have had more draft picks than them Longhorns, but we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into all that. But yeah, I love that about Tristan Hill. The Connor McGovern thing. I know me and Spoon have had the conversation. I don't, Mary. I know you've been on some of these posts that we were talking about. I don't know if we had the direct conversation or not. But the one thing that I've always said is, since the beginning, before we even got the tank deal done, you can't sign everybody. And I've continuously said, you can sign everybody that you want to. It will cost you people. Cost you a Cole Beasley. Fair enough. It'll cost you them second tier, third tier players. But if you want to sign the Byron Jones, the Zeke Elliott's, the Coopers and all that, it'll cost you a little bit. Hey, Aleo Collins is coming up. If you want to sign everybody, it might cost you Aleo Collins that this is one of those picks. So we got two Connors now. We have one with one end and another one with two ends. Well, you take one end, Connor from the University of Texas, split him out to right tackle, and now Connor can play left guard. So I mean, there's some of that forward thinking that y'all were talking about, Mary and Spoon, that for sure. Like some of this is forward thinking, the cornerback, right? Forward thinking. Hey, if we don't sign Jones, okay, I think they can, but they protected themselves with this year and next year, which makes me even more excited about next year's draft and exactly what they can do. My other takeaway, and I'll let y'all go, what y'all thought about the draft is and I don't know exactly when, or the last time it was, we unequivocally, how we kind of reset the cornerback position like 2 years ago, and then our DB position. Then we kind of tried to go and like completely reset wide receivers last year. And like this year, I'm like, they completely reset the running back position. Like, I appreciate you, Rod Smith. I love you as a player. They're not going to sign you. I think Mike Weber in the 7th round is a huge steal. I think Tony Pollard, and they've even already talked about it, Tavon Austin could be in trouble here somewhat because they're going to look at him as their Alvin Kamara. Like, this should be the most dynamic backfield that we've seen in Dallas in a long time. In maybe since the Chris Warren, Emmitt Smith days when we had 2,000-yard rushers. This is going to be very dynamic backfield where these guys can do a lot of different things, and that makes me pretty excited about that. Spoon, your thoughts on the draft, man? Just pick by pick. I know you talked a little bit about it, but
Oh, listen. I love every pick. I understand every pick. Unfortunately, we're not gonna get the exact order. This Cowboy Nation. We got to feel pretty good. I mean, not pretty good, very good. When when we see the history of Willie McClay and what he has how he has on his draft previously, how they have built this roster. Even give credit to Stephen Jones. They did their homework on these guys. I know sometimes we get caught up with the hype from scouts and stuff like that, but I'm going on history and the way Willie McClay has done his job drafting. I'm on board with every pick. You know, one of my favorite picks, especially, was the Tony Pollard kid.
Hey, and let's give Spoon some credit here, Mary.
He said it.
yeah, definitely talked about him, said it. Absolutely. Go ahead, Spoon. Go ahead and get your gloat on, baby.
Hey, listen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, I love the fact how you guys compared it to the to Alvin Kamara, how he's used. We all know Alvin Kamara is a dangerous weapon for the New Orleans Saints, and we know how England is. But here's the thing. We know Ziggy Elliott is a monster. So imagine he's wearing down that defense. And you got a guy like Tony Pollard who's going to slice you up like a Swiss knife. You understand what I'm saying? This guy is bringing a lot of he's a weapon of himself, like a weapon X. I'm going to beat you with the run. I'll beat you with the pass. I'll beat you with special teams. I mean, man, he had nine touchdowns, I believe, in special teams, receiving and rushing. That's a dangerous cat right there, you know. So listen, that's my favorite draft pick out of the whole group, only because he's gonna bring a whole nother level to that offense. Well, excuse me, Kellen Moore's offense. So I got to put that out there.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, no doubt. And I mean, already talking about him being even though he didn't punt return in college, they're going to put him there. It sounds like he's automatically the kick returner. And then and then we talk about Kellen Moore, like, oh, well, Zeke or Weber's in the backfield. Oh, well, now here's Pollard in the slot. I mean, it's just more ways and different things for people to look at and stuff. Like, there's a lot. Now, yes, we know pass pro for Pollard is something he's got to kind of get a little bit better at. But, I mean, there's so many different ways you can use him and not put him in those situations. It's just like, okay, yeah, a slam dunk pick, which us over here at the Stargate Cast, we told y'all there was running backs coming. We told y'all, and not one but two came. Mary, go ahead. Your spin on the draft.
So two things, just touching on what Spoon already talked about, Tony Pollard, and you mentioned Kellen Moore. That was my thinking. I kind of talked about some other running back options outside of the draft on the last episode, but I think them drafting two running backs says a lot. First off, it definitely says that there's no more Rod Smith. Also says that, Darius Jackson, he should probably be worried. And also it says that, maybe we're finally going to have this new offense that's going to use all of our pieces to our advantage and to their strengths. And that's something, I don't think Cowboys Nation is excited as they should be about that. Guys, get excited about it, okay?
Mary, from God's mouth to your mouth. Projecting out that we might see some differences from Kellen Moore's offense, because maybe that's the one thing that in general that Cowboys Nation, Stargate affiliates, that we underestimated was we saw the Rashard effect last year in the draft, right? Mm-hmm. You know what we saw this year, if we're being honest, and look, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Tell me if anybody else anywhere's talking about this. We saw the Kellen Moore effect.
Oh yeah,
and we saw the Kellen Moore
times where Kellen Moore was in the room with them when these picks were made. These are guys that he was happy to have, that he wanted.
You're right.
And that says a lot about how they feel about him and how much they are trusting him with this offense.
And I mean, hey, we can kind of talk about last time we carried 3 running backs on the roster, and this might be one of those where we kind of sneak one in, right? It might be one of those. Well, Pollard will be running back, wide receiver, like I said. Darius Jackson for sure. Bullseye. Tavon Austin. Love you, brother. I appreciate you. I would love to have him on this roster, but when I look at Tony Pollard and what we just kind of talked about and everything else, I'm like, hey, he better bring it. He better bring it during camp. I don't know. It could be an issue for Tavon for me.
Oh yeah, agree. He's in trouble. Just one more point I wanted to make before we move on regarding Tristan Hill specifically. Another thing I was reading up about, you kind of touched on him hanging out with Rod Marinelli. when he on his 21st birthday. Another thing, one of his old coaches, Scott Frost, used to actually play for Rod, and that guy had some great things to say about Tristan Hill. So when he has that relationship with Marinelli, and they have that pass together, and he has that pass with Tristan Hill, he was in a great position to give an honest opinion to our staff, to Rod Marinelli, about Tristan Hill and any concerns they may have had with him going into this draft. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they connected. They bought into each other. So hopefully we see the fruits of that.
And that's a big thing. And look, and that's a really big thing, because Scott Frost isn't there anymore. So this isn't him selling his program and trying to sell his pick to go so he can recruit. This is him giving Rod Marinelli, hey, I know you. We've been together. No, I'm giving you the 100 about him, because this is going to help Scott Frost over there in Nebraska. I'm telling you about this kid and what he is, which is 100 of him, obviously. I think the big, and then I'm gonna co-sign you, obviously, with that, and I'm gonna backdoor you real quick before we segue to the next point. Ed Water with the backdooring and talking about a couple of different defensive coordinators compared Tristan Hill to Sheldon Richardson. Whoa. And yeah, you kind of go back to if you kind of go back to Sheldon Richardson and what he did, and he was a 13th overall pick, and you turned around and got Hill at 58. So there was some of those kind of comparisons there for Hill as well. The only other thing I want to bring about these guys in the draft is this: Joe Jackson. I think it was one of 7. It was either one of 7 or one of 8 active players FBS wise that had over 24.5 sacks. Means he was getting pressure. So I mean, another great athlete. With that being said, and we know we had to kind of translate over to these undrafted free agents. And the Cowboys' history has been pretty good. Whether it's the Drew Pearsons of the world, and he was cutting promos in Philly and Hall of Famer, the Tony Romos of the world, the Miles Austins of the world,
Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley. Come on back, Cole. I mean, these undrafted free agents have definitely done well in recent memory for the Cowboys nation. So, Spoon. Do we have a couple of things going to make this 53? What you think? Well, let's run them down.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, Spoon said, "Oh yes." Here we go.
I have a few. As I go down the list, I'm gonna let you know. Bang, he's going in.
Okay.
I'm gonna start off with Jalen Guyton, wide receiver from North Texas. Okay, he's the former Allen High School star. He spent 2 seasons at North Texas, 103 receptions for like over 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. Not bad. Now, this guy here was a 30-day visit. Excuse me, one of the 30-player visit. Javier Johnson, wide receiver from Toledo. He finished his time in college with 125 receptions, over 2,300 yards, 25 touchdowns. Guy got some wheels. All right, now this guy here surprised me. This guy here, I believe, will make the roster. This was a surprise move. Matter of fact, he was signed today. Mitch Hyatt, the offensive tackle from Clemson. This guy here has only given up 5 sacks in 4 years in Clemson.
Let me stop you real quick. And Mary, you can chime in here too. How did this guy not get drafted?
I was wondering the same.
I was reading somewhere where they said some felt that he needs more of a muscular frame. I'm like, well, listen, did anybody just see our boy Connor Williams on his fishing trip?
He on that Zach Martin diet over there.
Yeah, and he did 15 pounds. Hey,
look. I mean, 5 sacks in 4 years in Clemson.
Crazy.
Hey, Tyrone, we got your backup right there.
Arizona, I don't know what you're doing. Sorry, that's different. Go ahead.
Yes. We have another tackle in Brandon Knight. He started 12 games at right tackle. Not bad at all. He was in the Big Ten. He's pretty decent. Derek Pooney, offensive tackle for Central Missouri. He's a 3-year starter in the all-year conference. But he had a couple of injuries. He has tore his labrum. So let's see what he does. one of my favorite picks right here. We all know the All-Pro Larry Allen, probably the best guard ever to play in the NFL. Well, the Dallas Cowboys just signed his son, Larry Allen Jr. from Harvard. Listen, I'm hoping this young man makes a squad somewhere. I really do.
Yeah. I mean,
just because of the bloodline.
Yeah, a little politics there, obviously, probably.
You know,
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Now, this guy here is my favorite, hands down favorite. This is Chris Westry, the cornerback from Kentucky, 6'4", 4.3 speed. Okay, he was one of the 30-day visits. He worked out with Chris Richard by himself. Also, they're saying that he could play some safety. Now, we all know there was a certain safety size 6'4" in Cam Chancellor. He was about 232 pounds. And it was also a 6'4" corner in Richard Sherman, about 195. This guy here is around 215 in between a corner and a safety, 4.3 speed. Listen, I mean, that's a good project. And he's the highest paid undrafted free agent.
They invested.
Yes.
They super invested. I think they gave him a $10,000 signing bonus. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like they invested. Like, case in point right now, if we want to circle a guy right now, like, yeah, that guy's going to be on this roster. And we'll kind of backdoor some of that in a minute. Go ahead. Okay, we got a Ricky Walker, defensive tackle from Virginia Tech. You know, over the last 2 seasons, he totaled 90 tackles, 23 tackles of and 6.5 sacks. Not bad. He was named 2018 second team All ACC. This is one of my other guys right here, Daniel Weiss, the DT from Kansas. Now, you know, sometimes when you're on a bad team, some people just ignore the whole team. But this guy here was one of the standout. And listen, a 4-year starter was consistent throughout his college career, finishing with 152 tackles, 43 tackles for loss, and 17 sacks. 17 sacks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And we had inside information. I was gonna say, and we had the inside track on him because we drafted his teammate last year in Dorrance Armstrong, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Boom. So there's a little inside track, a little inside information to know about Daniel Weiss. I agree there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we go next guy. We got Andre Dowell, linebacker from Michigan State. Okay, he's a 3-year starter who set career highs last season with 97 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 9 pass breakups for 3.5 sacks. You know, he also was a 4th round grade according to Dallas Cowboys scouts. We have a Luke Gifford, linebacker from Nebraska. He saw majority of his playing time coming over the last 2 seasons, finishing his senior year with 62 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, and 5.5 sacks. Nate Hall, linebacker from Northwestern. In 48 career games, as 29 starts, he totaled 259 tackles, 30 tackles for loss, 15 passes defended, 5 sacks, and 5 interceptions. That's a guy who's a motor at linebacker all around.
Right.
Reminds me of a guy, number 50. You know, listen, guys like that we love.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. And the last guy, we have Justin Phillips from Oklahoma State. He was a 2-year starter who led the Cowboys in tackles last season with 98. He also totaled 11 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 pass breakups.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, this is for me, one, and I always go through and look at, I love the undrafted free agents. I like to go through them and see what's going on. I'll be honest. This is probably, to me, the best crop of undrafted free agents we've nailed in the past 5 years.
Right.
Because I honestly think there's 3 guys on this undrafted list that's going to make the team. Personally, I think Daniel Weiss has a supreme shot. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about what you need and what you have there. I think it's a slam dunk, obviously, in which I'm not really like the one head scratcher for me for sure is Chris Westerly out of Kentucky, with all the Kentucky guys in that defense and who got drafted and the size and the speed. And you see the number that they've given him, he's going to be I think he's on this roster unless he completely bombs. Like, he can just be consistent and he's there.
Right.
And then, of course, the guy from Clemson. Yeah. Hyatt. I think he's here as well. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I think, which is crazy, right? We're talking about 3 guys from undrafted free agency that's going to make the squad. And look, and I'm going to double down. Hey, screenshot this, clip it, play it back, and we'll see. I think a linebacker is going to make it. I don't know which one because you see how many we took.
Yeah,
but I was
going to bring that up.
Yeah, I think one of these linebackers make it. I think we're going to have 4 undrafted guys make this roster. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I think 4 of them are. Mary, go right ahead. Yeah, go right into it. You're liking the linebacker, right?
I mean, yeah, like 4 linebackers, 4 offensive linemen. You know, Sean Lee, this is his last year, right? We're looking at the last year of his contract.
Right. And Damian Wilson just left. He's gone. Yep. He's in Kansas City now.
Yep. So, I mean, that's something they're clearly, you know, planning ahead for, which is obviously we love that. Same thing with O-linemen. They got 4 of those right here. And you never know with the shuffling around of the O-line and the depth, you know, to 2017, that was a nightmare when Chaz Green, I'm going to say his name. I'm going to say it. Chaz Green.
No, Chaz. No.
Nightmares.
Oh, I went right back to Atlanta real quick. Oh my God, shaking my head. Oh my God, yeah. Mary, they're for sure not trying to let that happen. Hey, and we love that, right? Here's the thing, right? I mean, we just won the division. We won a playoff game.
Yep. And
we have doubled down on depth across the board, which is what good teams do. I mean, I think it's time to be really excited about where we can go. I know. Podcast 1, Mary was out there about this. I'm not saying all that. But hey, when I'm looking at this, guys. I know it, and we're all looking for it. But I mean, it's exciting to get there. And even like, as much as I love the draft, I love the work. And when we talk about, you know, we always, all of us here, we use this hashtag between us. In Willie we trust. We use this hashtag, I swear. And looking at these undrafted guys, and we go through them, Spoon. How did some of these guys not get drafted, man?
Listen, I tell you, and I've always told this to a lot of guys that, you know, that we talk football with, and I always say that when you have a guy like Jerry Jones, he will take any risk. He will allow his team to take a risk at a player, and if you go wrong with that player, you know, you won't lose your job. You know, while other teams, they don't have that luxury. So basically, you know, it's like it goes back to guys like Jalen Smith. You know, Jalen, you know, with the injury, hey, listen, we're gonna take him. We got doctors. We'll put him on the shelf for a year, and look how much it panned out. Just look, you know, even I give you Randy Gregory. Yes, he's been in trouble, but my God.
Which, by the way, update on that. He is expected to file for reinstatement before the season starts, and word is he's expected to be back on the roster before week 1. For y'all to know.
Could you imagine?
And it's an 8. He was number 2 was on the list on the team with sacks 8.
Hey, from watch out, 10.
Hot boys.
Hey, and I love it. Hey, look, and as we were going through the draft, and it's funny, right? Because some of that smoke and mirrors that we always talk about the draft guys, and they were down there in Rob Marinelli, and we were like, oh well, they must. I mean, it's got to be Willis III from the U. And they took not one, but 2 different guys from the U, and neither one of them were Willis. And even in undrafted free agents, he ended up going to Baltimore. And apparently, like, we didn't love him at all. But that's some of that smoke and mirrors that happens, you know, for that defensive line and what we think, oh, well, they're going to do this. And, you know, they went some other routes there. Again, as we look at the draft now and we look at undrafted free agents, let's pivot. So during the draft, Michael Jackson Tweener could be a safety. Okay. But listed as a cornerback. We know Donovan Wilson for sure from A&M safety.
Right.
Did you see a safety on the undrafted list? Only maybe your boy, maybe the 6'4" super speedy 215, maybe. Yeah. He might be a tweener. Maybe Chris Westry is, you know, with the speed or whatever, maybe a tweener, maybe. So if we rewind back to, and we're going to talk about the safety position now and what we think, and we go back to our pick round in the second round, number 58. Man, we were like, wow, look at this. Look at everything. Look, the Raps of the world, the Thornhills of the world. I mean, kind of go down the list. The only thing that I was salty about was the actual pick that we traded for Amari Cooper was actually Abram from Mississippi State, and the Raiders took him. I'm like, oh, of course they would take him for our draft pick, of course. But I mean, there was a plethora of safeties on the board. What's the kid? Oh Lord, and I would blank on him. Adderley, excuse me.
Oh yeah,
Adderley was there. Yeah, I mean, the board was heavy, and that was another reason we all talked about. Said, well, okay, you take Hill here because there's so many safeties. And then we were like, oh, yeah, we talked about that trade up. Maybe here comes that trade up. And it didn't happen. And then even when we came up on the board in the third round, there was some safeties there. And we're like, nah, offensive line. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we kind of know what the situation is and what's going on now at safety. Mary. Bleach, no bleach, as you spoke about before with Heath at strong safety. What you think? How do you did the whole entire front office fool us on that, or is there still a plan available?
I am flabbergasted at the fact that they waited so long to get a safety, and apparently they did not see what we saw in all of these safeties. They didn't see the value there, getting them any earlier. And, I'm cautiously optimistic, if goodness, we'll see,
I think Mary Ellis still got that bleach on deck.
Yeah,
that's what I
I'm
think.
Keeping it. Yeah, I'm keeping
that's
it
what
on
I think
deck
right now.
Yeah, I'm just, we'll see, guys. I'll keep you updated.
Spoon, what you think? Did we get fooled, or is what happened should have happened? What do you think? Let's bring up the safety. Now, hold on. Let's preface this. Let me backdoor with y'all real quick. All right. We all believe in, and I'll go around the board here. We all believe Xavier Woods is about to take a big step. We saw what he did last year from year 1 to year 2, and we expect another jump year 3. So I think we all believe, free safety wise, we are solidified. Mary, yes. Spoon, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of now see what we had to do there is this. Some of these safeties that we wanted have to be removed from the board that we didn't want to talk about, because you're believing in Xavier Woods then.
Yeah.
There's only certain guys that kind of fit that box, Barry Church, so on and so forth. Spoon, talk to me.
Listen, I felt that we did what we had to do. I think that was the approach they was going. They think they saved the position solid. Christopher Shaw came out and did say that he believes in Xavier Woods. They signed Aloka, who is that big 6'4" safety. Jeff Heath may go back into special teams. And listen, in my opinion, we see in the offseason how many safeties was available in free agency. Apparently, the league is going away. Is going to the way where they want their strong safeties to be able to cover a little bit. You got to be able to cover. You can't be, if you're a big hitter, that may be a penalty that can hurt the team. That they're going away from that. No more Roy Williams. We can't go that route no more. So when you look at what was on the board at the time, okay, Juan Thornhill. Basically, they said he could play only one spot. The Cowboys like guys who could, play some nickel, who could cover flex. Different grounds.
Yeah, position flex.
You listen. That's the way they want to go. If you're only good in one thing and not anything else, then they wouldn't mess with you. Now, Chauncey Garner, I saw a lot of tweets. How fans was like, "Why are we not taking Chauncey Garner?" Well, listen, there was rumors out there that he had a bad interviews with a lot of teams. I mean, he came in his shorts, he had an attitude, things of that nature. So you know what, you gotta trust. Remember, we only going by the hype.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are going face to face with the Willie McClays, the Stephen Jones, and all that. If they sign a troublemaker, we're gonna get at them for not doing their job right. We don't want that. So just trust them. Trust and believe they're doing their homework.
Yeah, the whole meme started raining. Oh, Cowboys are gonna sign guys to get arrested. Blah 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 blah. The whole we've been through it. We know it. It is what it is. You know, and I agree there. I do agree with that. You know, sometimes when it comes to the stretch, you get overhyped and you see that one position that we think like, hey, we no matter what they think, we're like, no, we got to go here. We got to go here. I would say the one thing that I love about Willie McClay and the conglomerate that has happened over the past 5 years is this. And they're kind of truest to the most rawest form of BPA. Hey, there's rumors that they had Connor McGovern even a higher rate than Tristan Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and you got him in the third round, you know. So whenever you have this conglomerate, and as long as Jerry keeps sliding old Willie that bag, I mean, the Colts try to come for him, the Texans try to come get Willie McClay and whatnot. And, you know, they keep giving him a different little title, sliding him a bag. There might be an extra little bag in a Gucci bag or whatever they slide to him on the side. Hey, look, man,
Let him use the yacht. Let him use the yacht.
Give him yacht privileges, you know, anytime he wants throughout the year. No doubt, Mary. You know, keep Willie McClay here by all means, because we look at this draft and how these have been going and whatnot and love it, you know, and future proofing and projecting. You know, I can't wait. Like I said, we've talked about it behind the scenes. I mean, let's put it up there for us. When some of these certain players that get signed, get ready for the tears. Hey, we're telling y'all guys now, he's going to get signed. It's probably going to be around $30 million.
Right.
Yep.
Deal with it. Like, you should be happy. Like, there's a lot. Hey, go look at Miami, who's trading for a Josh Rosen and got a Fitzpatrick, and they're still trying to figure out the quarterback. Like, they haven't found a quarterback since Dan Marino. Literally. Be happy you got a quarterback that's 13-5 in the division in his first 3 years with 2 division titles.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
With that being said, I'm not a big fan of this, but it's fun to do. I like the fun factor. I like the fun factor of draft grades. So, yeah, let's do it. Let's. I'll tell you what, and we can do it with Amari Cooper in the first round, or we can do it without. How do y'all want to do it? I'll give y'all the floor. Y'all want to do it with I think Amari's cheating. I think if Amari, the grade's going to be super high. So never mind. I change it. Never mind. I'm overruling.
Is it the same Amari Cooper that have 50 drops and people?
Oh, he's terrible. No, sir.
Oh.
Amari's so terrible. He's so terrible. How old is he again? I forgot. I mean, what is he?
Right.
Yeah, he's like 24 or whatever. Calvin, whatever. Yeah. I mean, Amari's dropping all the balls. He's terrible. Let's not even talk about that first round pick to Amari.
Okay.
Let's not even talk about it. Just based on what we did here.
By the way,
man, Mary Ella, hold on. For the people in the back, please say it one more time.
# worth the first.
Yeah, we'll all right here grade just the first round pick for Amari and tell y'all it's an A+ slam dunk home run, and we're done with that. Too bad it goes. But for what we had to do with this, no 6th round pick. Let's pick some what we ended up with. How do we feel? Let's go Spoon. What you think? Well, how you like this draft? Give it to me.
I'm gonna give a B+.
B+ on the board. Okay. Give me your best pick. Give me your worst pick.
In my opinion, the best pick was Connor McGovern, the guard from Penn State, only because he had a higher grade from what they were saying. And that's going to bolster up our offensive line and add some great depth and flexibility to what we want to do. The worst pick, I would have to give it just maybe the defensive end out of Oregon. I mean, I thought,
could have swayed you a tight end maybe.
Yes, a tight end, because we had so many depth on the defensive end spot.
Hold on. See, hey, look, episode 1, we talked about it. Hey, maybe it's the year of Rico. Maybe it's the year of Rico. We didn't see. Look, look. Hold on. No tight end in undrafted free agency. No tight end on the draft board. Huh? Kellen Moore's here now. Maybe it's the year of Rico.
I was actually going to touch on that in my comments.
Possibly.
Well, Mary, go right ahead. Touch on it, Mary. Go right ahead. Talk about the draft.
So I'm going to be a little less lenient than Spoon here.
Okay.
I'm going to say C+.
Okay.
Passing grade, still above average.
You can look. If you have extracurricular activities, it is above a 2.0. You can still play.
Exactly. Boom. And one of my main reasons, like I said, I initially didn't want the running back, but I actually really liked the Tony Pollard pick after I did a little more research. He's very versatile, and like I said, I think it's a sign that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a sign. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's my best because I think it's a sign of a positive direction for our offense. Okay. And he can do so many different things. So you know what? Boom. Spoon, I'm giving it to you. There you go.
And who is your worst pick?
So the reason why I'm only giving it a C+ is the fact that we didn't draft a tight end. That's something that I was looking for. And, apparently they didn't see the value when they were drafting and they like who they have. So, yeah, I'm hoping that means that I'm wrong and they're right. And Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz and, hey, even Rico. Don't they call him Zeus? Zeus. Let's see some godliness on that field right there.
And you know what? And they had opportunities with some guys, the kid out of A&M and what. There was opportunities for them to go get a tight end. For sure, and they didn't.
Yeah.
On the cool, as much as I love this draft, I'm with Mary, actually, a little bit more on this. I'm in the C+ range. And my reason being is, and I get it, like we have a very talented roster, okay? And whenever we sit here and we talk about undrafted free agents and we're sitting here, and I think we're kind of all on the same idea that at 3, possibly 4 make the roster, well, then I look at that guys that we drafted. How many are day one starters? It's cool with 3 or if you're telling me 3, 4 make this roster. Okay, well, how many are day one starters? Tristan Hill, day one starter. Connor's not a day one starter. Pollard's not a day one starter. Michael, we can just kind of go down the board. None of these guys are day one starters, guys. None of them. Very true. None of them. I love the picks for different reasons. Absolutely. But and I love we're going to reform the backfield and kind of do that. And we talked about that with what our new offensive coordinator is going to do with that. And we'll see. And, hey, I actually do low key kind of like the Wilson pick. That's cool. But as we're sitting here right now, I don't think Donovan Wilson is going to replace anybody at safety. Mm-hmm. So, if we're looking at it, we had 8 picks, and out of 8 picks, we have one day one starter. That's where we are. So I'm a C+ because I like the depth. I like things that we did. But like I said, whenever I look at, there's a serious chance that Wilson, who is a 6th-round pick, isn't on this team because of what we looked at in undrafted free agents. Mm-hmm. And look, and I'll double down a little bit more. Michael Jackson might not be on this team because of a certain guy with guaranteed money that was a undrafted free agent on this team. So we have to kind of wait and see how that plays out. I know we've had talks, and y'all kind of told me before, Lewis is on the trade block. Jordan Lewis, cornerback, Michigan. And I was like, I don't know. I ain't trying to get rid of the place that I'm strong at. But maybe we had to kind of look at some of this extra fodder that we have on the roster now, cornerback, offensive line. Maybe somebody's getting moved. The one thing that I do love about this draft that I told you guys, which was spoke on, was this tells me, hey, we're covering whenever La'el Collins is gone at right tackle next year. And maybe what we do is we flip a La'el Collins and we flip him for maybe a safety. And we talked about this right before we jumped on. Maybe that's a Carl Joseph out there in Oakland or Nevada or wherever they're playing at this year. I don't know. I forgot, because they signed a joiner, they didn't draft any offensive lineman. Maybe we flip an offensive lineman, and then that changes the grade because if La'el leaves, Well, Connor Williams is probably our right tackle, and now Connor McGovern's probably our left guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Carl Joseph on the back end. So that kind of changes things. But as it's currently constituted, C+, great depth, 1 day, 1 starter. And then we'll see where the rest of it shakes out.
Fair enough. Hey, and there's some fans that don't even see Tristan Hill as a day 1 starter. So,
I mean, he's going to be heavy rotation. If he's not a day 1, I mean, okay, Lale Collins, Tyrone Crawford, in a huge dose of Tristan Hill.
yeah,
Right? It's gotta be,
I would think so. Yeah.
Preseason. Gotta wait. You see who makes the most plays.
Yep.
Right. No, for sure. For sure. No, I agree. But that kind of wraps up the Cowboys draft. Now, we do have a few minutes. Let's touch on real quick. Apparently, in going forward in the NFC East, maybe a couple of different gunslingers that our Cowboys are going to have to face at certain points. I mean, I think Haskins out of Ohio State is going to be starting pretty soon for the Washington Redskins. The Giants went and grabbed them a Daniel Jones. Now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Gettleman said he could start now or he could sit for 3 years. But at a certain point, we're going to see them. Daniel Jones went
an extension. So.
Oh Lord, I mean, we can look as D-Law said, pray in hands, please. Yes, by all means. But Daniel Jones went 6th. Haskins went was that 15th? Yeah, 15th. To the Skins.
Hey, Skins had a steal, and they traded back into the first round. Got Montez Sweat.
Yes.
They did. I mean, a lot of people took him off the board because of the heart condition or whatever. If that's good, we kind of look at the, as I call them, the Alabama Tide East, with all those guys from the Tide on their defense, and Kerrigan on the other side. I mean, the defense should be pretty legit offensively. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe a little bit of stink there because they did draft a Bryce Love running back out of Stanford, and Darius Geis with the blank face emoji wasn't really a fan, and now. I mean, the Redskins do have 4 different running backs that all have had ACL injuries now.
Right.
Yep.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I could see that. That's a need for them. So,
right.
We'll see what they can do. They can survive the preseason.
A little bit of things that happened in our area, neck of the woods in the draft. But let me ask you all this. We got about 5 more minutes. Your most favorite pick for not Dallas. Let's take Dallas out of it. Your favorite pick in the entire draft for a team. Spoon, I'll give it to you first.
Ooh, my favorite. I like Ed Oliver to the Buffalo Bills.
Man, at 9, crazy value.
Yes, I like that. Buffalo has always been a very good defensive team. And the coincidence that in the AFC East, all their first round draft picks was defensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Williams went to the Jets,
right.
and Oliver to the Bills, and what's his name, Christian Wilkins, he went to the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, those are for Tom Brady. Those are nice toys for Tom Brady to deal with. But Ed Oliver, I love his energy. I love his passion for the game, his athleticism, and I can't wait to see him as a Bill. What he does, except when he plays the Cowboys.
Yeah. We ain't worried about him.
I want to point that out.
Yeah, no doubt. Mariella, you have a favorite pick from the draft that rubbed you the right way? Like, oh, wow, look at that.
Honestly, for certain reasons in particular,
sure.
Josh Allen and Ed Oliver, because they were both still there and the Giants didn't take them.
Mavi gave it in. Mavi gave it to you.
Forever is going to throw shade at these other guys in the East. Lord Jesus. Mm-hmm. Lord Jesus. Well, and they didn't. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They could have, and they didn't. I think for me, and I've kind of went back and forth about this pick for a while now, and I was just kind of looking across the board. Maybe I'm going to go with my favorite pick because I think it's my most intriguing pick. And I think it is DK Metcalf to Seattle. Yes. Only because we don't know what's going to happen with Baldwin with the neck. Maybe he can't play no more. But the way that they play ball, it's allowed to pound you and just again, players have to get to the right position or the right systems or whatnot, and they don't do a whole bunch of drags. No. Just go straight down the field and let Wilson throw you the ball. So I'm intrigued. I think the most intriguing, I think maybe boomer bust pick, even though, it's going to kill you as late as you took him, is DK Metcalf going to Seattle. I'm intrigued to see what he does up there and how he filters into that offense and what happens. I'm like, that could be something really, really special. I mean, they paid the guy, the quarterback is going to be there. So, we kind of see what happens. Now.
Oh, another interesting pick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kansas City, they seem like they drafted a replacement.
That Tyreek Hill clone. Yeah, that Tyreek Hill clone. No doubt. Went over to Georgia and got the Tyreek Hill clone.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Portman.
Yeah, Portman. Absolutely. The punt returner, 4.31, the whole nine. Basically, and actually a little bit taller than Tyreek Hill, which is crazy. But yeah, they basically went and drafted Tyreek Hill's clone. I hate to see it. I hate to talk about this kind of stuff, but I mean, at a certain point, we do have to a little bit. If Tyreek Hill's back in the league, I'm going to be pretty surprised.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll watch my words and I'll say, listen, when you have one of the greatest job in sports to perform and make a lot of money for your family, the guys who do the right thing deserve that kind of job. I'll be very surprised he ever comes back into the NFL. Very disturbing.
Yeah. As a friend of mine, Jackson Howard said, he's looking at a 2 to 10, and I'll leave it at that. Again, that's a terrible situation. I hate what's happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, draft coverage wise, absolutely, they went and got the clone. Like, they knew what happened. They went to the bunker. They redid. I bet they went into their draft board, wiped it clean. Okay, here's what's going on. Boom, 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 and they were able to make it happen. So that's kind of what they did. But with that being said, I think episode 2 is in the books.
Woo-hoo.
We came, we saw, we conquered. Check us out. Share, of course. Give us feedback. Let us know what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Me, Mary, or Spoon, we are here to get it in. Hope y'all enjoyed this draft joint. Any parting shots y'all got, guys, before we get out of here, Spoon? I mean, back-to-back drafts for you. What'd you think?
Listen, I'm ready. I'm ready for Vegas. I'm ready for Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm ready for Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt. Mary, you got anything before we get out of here?
I'm kind of sad it's over, but the good thing is that means the season is that much closer to starting, and week 1, I'm in there.
No doubt. We will definitely be back with y'all as soon as a little time goes by now, because we got a little bit of gap. We got some rookie training camps, some OTAs to happen, things like that. But as soon as training camp gets kicked off, the Star Game will be back with season 1, episode 3, and let y'all know what's going on, our thoughts and opinions. We appreciate y'all. Peace.